Thank you very much, Wesley. It's the fourth year that I'm invited. I'm very appreciative of that. I really like coming here. I have the best experiences with the students, so I'm looking forward to be with here tonight with you. I'm going to have three parts of my presentation. Can you hear me in the back? Is that working okay? Okay, one part is about me and my office, one part is about authenticity, and one part is where I explain the project I want you to work on. So my name is Wolfgang Joensson. My company's name is VIEWSDESIGN. I'm the founder, and since 4 years I have a partner, Lutz Gebhardt, who is in Switzerland because we have two locations, one in Paris in France and one in Basel in Switzerland. And I spend increasing amount of time here in Southern California because my girlfriend is from Irvine, and we like the weather here in winter better than over there. What do we do as designers? I don't know what your intentions were when you started the study. I, of course, wanted to make the world a better place, etc., and that is fine, and it's good. I'm still busy with that. I'm not sure if it has improved, and if it has improved, that is my fault. But what I'm doing more precisely today, I explain as communication of images in the market. We're communicating values, existing values, or perceived values through shapes. That's what we do in our office. We do that through brand design, starting with a logo and going through the complete look at the brand, interface design, and product design, which is the core of our activity because we're both trained product designers. Talking about brand design, there's a couple of logos here I show. The first top left is not even a logo, it's an icon, but you know, this has never been used. I love it. It's an icon for strong coffee, and my coffee machine client doesn't like it. He thinks it's too cartoonish, and so I try to always squeeze it into my presentation because I like it so much. Then there are some other logos of different enterprises, and I'm going to show you some more examples of what we did for these in detail. One of the biggest projects I've worked on in brand design was for the largest watch manufacturer in South Korea, Joensson. They had this logo when they came. There were two partners that worked together for a common future and success. This is how they explained the logo to me. And they wanted a more international, more modern appeal, and so I worked on that. It was a long project. It went over a whole year. And it was about half of that time was decision making. You know, when you show something, the client says usually, I couldn't imagine, which is why he hired you. And then they say, they are confronted with a new situation that now they have to make up their mind. And that is not so easy. And our job is to make it easier by providing good solutions. Ideally, we want to make it so that the client has a hard time finding out which is the best of all the wonderful designs that we show. So in this case, it was this symbol here, modernized, simplified. And one of the discussion points was that he said the original old one was more square in the format, and this is more portrait shaped. And I was a bit puzzled why they would prefer a square format, but it's very easy to explain. The Koreans are the one Asian people that have a very modern alphabet since the mid-15th century, when on the initiative of a king, several wise men developed the syllable-based Hangul lettering, which they are very proud of. It's a cultural achievement, and it's something one should very well respect. All these letters are based on a square shape. This is why my Korean client was used to that and not used to this. And I said, well, it's very simple. We can make that square, but your briefing said you wanted to have a more international approach, so maybe you want to consider that. So I didn't decide it for them, but I said, according to their own briefing, this is what they wanted. And you know, I left it to them, and then they decided for this here. We then made adaptation for the Hangul on the bottom left, the Japanese and the Arabic. It's very funny because I, of course, can neither write Japanese nor Arabic, so they gave me a sheet of paper with some Japanese signs. It looked really cool to me. I mean, I would have printed that on a T-shirt and proudly worn that. But I had a friend, a British friend, who was married with a Japanese wife and lived in Japan, and I wanted to be safe, and I sent it to him, and he said, he showed it to friends, he said, that looks like a 5-year-old kid did it. I said, wow, okay, and he had a friend then who did a graphic designer who did a better version and sent that to me. Since I don't know anybody in the Arab countries, at least at that time, I don't know whether that looks really cool or not, but there were never any complaints, and if there are no complaints, you can consider this be sufficiently successful. We did then all the adaptations. You know, at the end of the year, there was a book in production that explained what the clothing should look like, the signature, the signing on the building, on the cars. There are name tags and price tags and gift bags and carrying bags, all kinds of objects that are linked to the logo and to the appearance of the brand. Okay, that is the opposite. It was a little startup, and sometimes it's fun to work with larger corporations. They usually do not have the same budget constraints as startups, but with the startups there is more heart blood in there and more enthusiasm at times. So I don't really have a clear preference. It's not only that the large corporations have the money, they usually have a more organized structure. With a startup, you're ending up sometimes sitting at the kitchen table with a guy, and you know, it's not always the same level of professionality. But I enjoy really both. So Homage is a startup, and for them we came up with the name and the logo. It's a company that does luxury men's grooming. Since they said that they may one day want to be open to be purchased by somebody and may open the brand to also sell clothes for men, we couldn't do anything that would involve, you know, shaving, which was the starting point, but something that looks just masculine. The name Homage, it's the French version of homage, means the same thing, means to honor somebody, but there's also the French word homme in there for man. Because, you know, the one time the man looks manly is when he is unshaven, freshly shaven, or while he is doing it. Whereas women are usually the sexier people in the gender, at least from my male perspective. They withdraw into the shower and nobody sees when they're shaving because it's not something considered as sexy as when men do it. So we thought we celebrate that. We say we honor the man with our brand, Homage. And the guy sits in Paris, is an American sitting in Paris, and anything French and the grooming sector has a good ring to it. So that also had to be considered. And then you want it to be pronounceable in various languages, et cetera, et cetera. So we did package design for them. We started off with razors. I'm going to come to that later. This is just about the brand. Package design made of recycled paper, but sufficiently luxurious. That middle razor there sells for $250, is for $500. So it's really upscale. These are chrome plated. Then some examples of interface design, our second area of activity. There are three examples I'm going to show you. One is in coffee machines. You'll probably not meet somebody who has designed more coffee machines than I have. There are some competitors. One is my partner. He's trying to overtake me. But we've really done more than a dozen, and there are millions of coffee machines on the market that I'm responsible for. And I'm not even drinking coffee. But that, I tell you, is not a joke, but you should always think that you're not designing for your age group, your gender, your interest. You're designing for a specific group of consumers, for users, and you should always keep that in mind. Second example is for a company that does remote controls for model airplanes, and the third one is for laboratory devices. So when we look at coffee machines, a coffee machine is a fairly complex product, particularly this one for the company Jura. They have different constraints, things that you can change. You can grind the coffee in various grades. You can have different temperatures, durations of brewing. There are so many things that you can influence, but in the end, somebody just wants a cup of coffee, you know? And how do you make that to come about in a very simple and direct, straightforward way? Ideally, our client and we dream of this one-button thing. You know? The coffee machine should know you and should know what you want. But when you talk to one of your friends and say, can you get me a small black one? And ideally, you want a small black one. So you have the size and the strength that you want to be able to choose in the most simple, straightforward way. And here is a touch screen where you have three strengths and three sizes, and then you go, so you have 3 buttons to touch, and then you get your coffee. But at the same time, this machine does all kinds of different coffees, from espresso to latte macchiato, so you have more options than just this choice. When you look at remote controls for model airplanes, you have to know that to fly an airplane, no matter what size, is the same physical event happening. So it's not really easier to fly a model airplane. It's just less people die when it goes down. And that's, of course, a significant difference. But for the interface, it means it's the same complexity. You know, this is the start menu. It's very simple. But when you go inside, there are 4 different screens here. There's a champagne button. That's not a champagne button, because otherwise it would be flat at the top. So that must be some beer with a foam. No, that's actually the joystick. You can assign the joysticks differently. Good question, though. Don't ask about all the other buttons, will you? Okay. So here, like with a real airplane, you have all these presets and these intricate regulations for everything. And there are 2 how do you say, 2 properties my character has that enable me to do that. One is I'm totally anal about having things organized. And it gets worse with age. I realize when I'm invited with friends, for dinner, and I'm putting the wine glass, really align that with my plate and so on. It's really disgusting. My girlfriend thinks it's because me being German, and I let her believe that because it's more exotic, But the truth is that for that profession of being a designer, it's a very good ability, or it's a very good disease, or whatever you want to call it, because it makes you put things in order, and that is something that is always required. You always have buttons, or elements, or details you have to align and bring in a clear, it doesn't have to be an orthogonal grid, it doesn't have to be all rectangular, but it has to be a grid that makes sense, And the second thing is that you have to have some logical thinking about priorities, There are things that are more important than others, and you have to clearly prioritize. I mean, we haven't invented the menu bar. That was probably Peter Menu in the 13th century or something. But a menu bar or any kind of other subdivision of the screen can be helpful. And what we have done is something that is patentable, and I'll show you later. We have modernized the menu bar. Typically, that's what our clients give us. That's one of these menu trees, It starts, in this case, it's for a leak detection device. That's a device that detects leaks. If one molecule escapes a cubic inch per year, they can measure that. They have very precise devices. It's used for laboratories, for production, where you say, well, when you have an air condition or compressor or something, you used to put it in a bucket, and when a bubble comes up, it's not tight. You sort it out and repair it, and the other things that when no bubble comes up, it's okay. The problem is, what happens when a bubble comes up every 15 minutes? The device will still be empty at the end of the year if you put it in a car, so that's not acceptable. So now they pump it full with helium, and then they have a sniffer outside that can sniff that one little molecule escaping and sound the alarm, and that's how you can get a much better production quality, which is important. Now, when we get these, we're probably as confused as you are when you look at this now. You say, what the hell is that? It's a menu tree where you have a home that's here, and from there on, you have, in this case, 5 sub-levels, and then you go from there into this tree, into the depths. And no matter what product you have, usually it looks like that. And we know that now. You probably grew up with that. We had to learn that later. So you are natives. You're indigenous to the digital world, and we are immigrants, so to speak, because we learned that much later than you did, So what we try to do is what I show here. You have a home from where you go to the next levels. And these next levels, that can be, in this example, 3. And then you go down further. Well, imagine each of these dots is one screen. And if you have to navigate from here to there, you have to go all around. And that can be tedious when that menu tree is complicated, because sometimes has a lot more, as a previous one showed, a lot more branches. So what we thought, we want to eliminate the home by putting the home on every screen, because we want to facilitate to navigate directly from any point to any point with only going up one level. And the way how we do that is as follows. So we have, no matter what product you're dealing with, when you buy a car today, it drives, hopefully. If you have a coffee machine, it makes coffee. So any product with this kind of menu tree has what I call an operation. It does what it's supposed to do. And before you can do that, we have our logo and our icon for this, with that company, because it is laboratory devices, they always observe something, which is why we put in the eye. So before you can do something, before you can do something, you have to adjust the settings. Even in a car today, you have to say, I want the interior being purple, or illumination and so on. It's amazing. All these things are so customizable. So you have always settings. And then things can go wrong. That's where you need a maintenance branch. And then we decided to have a fourth one for information, additional information, in this case, material libraries, logs, or videos, training videos, whatever. Now, our client is a company that sits in Liechtenstein, which is a little village, little valley village next to Switzerland, but it's all over the world. They have their business units in Irvine and Syracuse in New York, and Sweden and Cologne and Germany and Switzerland, everywhere. So all these different business units have different products, and they make devices from the size of an iWatch to really big machines that go in the lab. And we wanted, and that was the task, to standardize all their interfaces. So we had to convince them that none of the machines would need more than these 4 branches on the first level. And the marketing people said, well, what do I know? One client, maybe in 5 years, he wants a 5th button. And since our intention was to put them in the corners of the screen, we said, well, then we have a screen with 5 corners. No, of course we didn't, because that doesn't exist. And we said, no, you tell us what would not fit in any of these 4 categories. So you see, at this point, we're not even talking icons or design. We're just talking logic. And that's the specificity of interface design. And then we decided to design the screen and put these 4, as I said, in the corners. The nice thing is that now you can, whatever shows on the screen, you can swipe diagonally on a touch screen, on a swipeable touch screen, to any of those 4 areas. One always being active, and that's not shown here, but that would then not be light blue, but light gray. So we have eliminated the home, and we have eliminated the necessity to have one button, one screen that has 4 buttons, because those 4 buttons are on every screen. And eliminating 2 hierarchy levels is pretty cool. Then we did several adaptations, and I show you just some here where we show bar graphs. And we wrote a 24-page catalog, which of course these days never gets printed. That's why we put it on a website and made it, easily navigable. Navigable? Is that a word? Okay, thanks. And show, okay, what do you want to show? What type of bar graph, line graph, or other graph you need? We actually developed even another type of visual representation. And then we showed how that works with different sizes, so software engineers can, with the help of our design style guide, create their own interfaces. With that comes a plethora of 300 and some icons. Some of them cloud, so that's simple, that of course that's just an adaptation in line to that specific typography they have. And some we need to design, when you want a tag on your curve, or you want to make a specific calculation. And then there are some that measure this and measure gas underground or in-house, or if you have a vacuum chamber that gets pressurized or cleaned or burned out or whatever. Coming to product design, this is what we did for Homage. That's a razor where we said, okay, the target group until then, target group are men making $100,000 to $150,000 a year. It's quite a lot of money. I wish you all will do that one day. You're working it, I know. They have maybe an Audi and they have a BMW motorbike, and why would they want, and that was the only thing that was on the market at that time, why would they want a 1930 British gentleman style when they want to shave traditionally, you know, with a badger brush and a shaver? Or why would they want that at all, you know? And we said, no, maybe they're used to modern design. Let's allow them to have that nice badger brush preparation of the beard, make the foam go into all the pores and so on, but with a modern design. And we have the razor here magnetically attached to the back and the badger brush magnetically suspended from the top of the stand. That also is patentable. The patents are not that important. What's good is if it allows you the innovation, gives you a specific stand and a position in the market, something to talk about that's always appreciated by the salespeople, and something that's not so easy to copy, you know. That's a wonderful example of a product design that will perhaps shock you also, I don't know. This costs $30,000, and I don't have one if you ask. Why does it cost $30,000? Because the price was made by our PR agency. And they said, well, you know, you're a small startup. I'm a co-founder, that's why I say we. You're a small startup. You don't have the money to do advertising, you know. We do PR instead, you know. That's cheaper and more efficient, because here we got into Newsweek, and they didn't even have the prototype finished by the time, so they showed my computer rendering. And they put a big sticker on and say, this is the new fantastic razor, costs $30,000. And bingo, you're in Newsweek. You could never pay in advertising as a startup in that magazine. And it was expensive also for us. It cost $3,000 to make that, because that blade cost $1,000 to buy. There's only 3 people on the planet that make it. One American, one Japanese, one German. It's made from damascene steel, old craftsmanship tradition. You take mild and hard steel and forge it and fold it over, and then you etch it so this becomes visible. And people use that for hunting knives or kitchen knives, but few people do that for straight edge razors. I got shaved with a straight edge razor 3 times in my life. Well, yeah. I shave wet, but not with a straight edge razor. It's a lot of preparation, you know, you have to really sharpen this. In this one, you don't have to sharpen that often. That's a radio controlled clock. The client that we worked for didn't invent the technology, but put it on a chip, which allowed it to be cheaper in the market before it was too expensive for normal consumers. And they wanted to show that there's a new technology, and that we did with 2 basic tricks, if you so wish. One is this button, and one is this kind of satellite dish, because it suggests that this is receiving a signal, which it does. There are stations in the US, I think there are 2 or 3 radio stations that send a time signal. In Germany, there's one for the whole of Europe, and in Japan there's one, and now there's more and more coming up. But it started with very few stations. And that receives the signal and adjusts the time, so it goes 1 second wrong in a million years, which even Germans think is sufficiently precise, and didn't help us tonight starting on time, you know. So the other thing is the button. Why is this important? Well, if you have a clock that does not need a button, and every wall clock has the button on the back, what do? I mean, if you leave the button away, nobody sees it. It looks like a normal wall clock. So we put the button on the front, and when you touch it, it goes to 12, and then it waits for the signal, and then it adjusts the time. So when you buy that, you can basically play around with it and show to your friends, hey, I got this cool new clock. So like this, you understand the difference to a regular clock. Nowadays, you don't need this anymore, because people just assume that you have a nifty technology in there. Or they have sometimes they put a little icon in, like this mast with the radio waves. Okay, that's one of the coffee machines. I like it as a small little handheld, how do you say, sieve holder machine. You put the powder in, and then like in this Italian espresso bar. It looks like a little factory, and it's chrome-plated. It's kind of nifty for a low-cost product. It's fairly cheap. That was one for Nespresso, and that was at the beginning of Nespresso. So I thought, what makes that special is that capsule. That's really a unique feature, and I wanted to really bring that forward. That's why I show, it's actually not a good photo to show that this tower in the front, the cylinder, really speaks of that capsule, and there's like a halo around it. It's this handle that used to open it. And then there's this one, which has been sold by the millions. That's their most successful product. I worked with them since 25 years. So when they started, or they didn't start at the time, they existed, but they were very well known for irons, not for coffee machines. It's a strange combination. And the guy, the boss, who was a young guy that took over, he decided to focus on coffee. And today it looks logical, but at the time I thought, well, iron, coffee, you know. I mean, I iron. I like to iron, actually. I don't drink coffee, so I was kind of more biased towards the ironing. What I didn't understand, and that guy understood because he's a marketing guy, you drink coffee because you like it, and you iron because you have to, if you feel like you have to. So there's a big difference. People will not spend more than like $100 for an iron, but their most expensive coffee machine is up to $7,000 or so. And then people say, wow, $7,000. Well, $7,000 is the extreme. That's for offices. But regular, this one is around $1,000. And the Swiss people, when they have a new house and a new kitchen, they pay 20, 40, 50,000 for the kitchen. And if they like coffee, they say, well, I add another 1,000 and have the coffee machine that I like. And all of a sudden, I mean, it's not in a student budget. I know that. And I never had to buy one because I get 3 free of every sample. So all my friends have coffee machines. Some have 2. And my girlfriend uses an espresso. It's embarrassing, but our kitchen is small. So, and these are fairly chunky. That's the most recent model. I wanted to talk a little bit about how I work as a designer. And for that, I want to go back to this one because that was really like the first type that I worked on. And you know, sometimes students are a bit scared and ask, how much technology do I need to understand and master to design? And the answer is not so much. There are engineers for that, you know. You have to understand them, you have to be able to talk to them, and you have to respect them. A good engineer is great. He will take the responsibility that your stuff works. That's not your responsibility. But you shouldn't make his life hell, you know. So what did I do in this case? I said, can you give me all the parts that should go into the machine? Because the shape was not defined, you know. So you have the pumps and the flow meter and things that had to be explained. A flow meter is basically something that measures how much liquid flows through. So they can say, okay, stop here, not more, and so on. A coffee mill, all these gizmos, transformer, or whatever was in there. And then I had my model maker cut them all in foam because that's easier to play with, you know, because all this stuff is otherwise so heavy. I could do my Lego thing, and on my desk I arrange them in different ways and try to find a reason, you know. We're always looking for a reason, like a concept. Why do we do what we do? In the end, it's an ethical question. When you ask yourself, why do I do this or why do I do that? And I decided, okay, first, it had to be small because, you know, we're not all in California. Go to Manhattan, go to Paris, kitchens are small. So you want to have that as small as possible. And of course the engineer says, oh, but not that small. We need some air there for temperature, et cetera, et cetera. That's what engineers do. Here's a very nice engineer in the front. And then you had the space constraints of these kitchens. You know, in the depth it's not so critical because you have that depth of the countertop, which you will not fully use. And the height you have a constraint by a cabinet hanging from the top, and you still want to be able to open or get the water tank out, etc. But the real constraint is from the side. You want it as slim as possible, and that was the slimmest fully automatic espresso machine in the market at the time because I was playing around. And I played around and said, okay, there's one side that should be wet and the other side should be dry. I mean, there's here the water filter, etc. Here is on top of the coffee. And in the middle is where it happens, where the magic brings the water and the coffee bean, ground coffee bean together for the coffee. And then I highlighted this, you know, that's more of an aesthetical thing with these 2 chrome gleamy exhaust pipes to really show this is where the quality comes out. By the way, the coffee should never touch metal, so inside there are plastic tubes and it's carefully constructed or engineered so that the coffee does not touch the metal, because that has a bad effect on the coffee and may have a bad effect on the metal over time too. Okay, that's the $1,000 professional remote. Their flagship client has a 13th scale 747 with 4 jet engines. You need like a blacktop runway for this thing, and that would kill at least the person standing underneath if you don't watch it. So that's their dream client. I mean, not everybody has. Usually they have, you know, these self-made planes of all kinds of sizes. Just look at this little button here. It's just for effect chrome. It's not important here, but I'm coming back to that in a moment. So this is a $1,000 machine. That's an interface that tells you when your model airplane is running out of fuel, something very sophisticated. But from the design point of view, it was really a nice little object to do. I really love that project. I love nice things that you can do quickly, like this. That's fun. And this is a very cheap remote. That sells for $100, including the plane. So this is a 2-shell, has to be dirt cheap. And my task as a designer here is to make it not look insulting. And I said, you have already this button from the expensive machine. That was a small company, a German company, very small, belongs to a Korean company. And I said, why don't you use that button? Because you don't have to really buy that extra. That's already paid for. And then you take your top shell and you just have different material treatments, you know, matte and glossy, and that adds some interest. And like this, it doesn't look so bad. Because some, if you look at the competition, some are really, you can see they are all made cheaply, but some look cheaply. You don't have to do that. These are some companies we've worked for. So you see some big name brands like Kodak and Samsung and LG, and then some you've never heard of, and because they are so small. There's even one you will never hear of because it was a startup that didn't work out. And you know, that happens. You know, when we did design for them, you do design so that the startups can be more impressive to investors. They can show, they look more professional when the stuff they have is already designed. And as a designer, they can't pay you the full fee. So you say you do some down payment. And if you're going to be successful, I get more than I would usually get. And if that works out, it's fine. But you know, once at a time, it doesn't work. And then you make sure that the down payment covers a good part of what you've invested in time, but you're not making a profit on it. That's okay. It's still fun to work with. Of course, when you do design, you're proud when you get some awards. I can tell you honestly, if you have a good client that does an innovative project that is well engineered, you'll get a design award sooner or later. So it's not super magic. I'm proud. This year is a book, German Standards, that has just like a dozen products in there. It's like the Kleenex is the archetypical paper handkerchief. In German, it's Tempo, and believe me, they're better. And then there's the clock that I designed is in there. And die Neue Sammlung on the left is Germany's largest design museum. And of course, the moment you're in a museum, you're an old guy. I mean, of course, that's the disadvantage, but you can live with that because you're proud. Okay, that was the first part so that you know a little bit about me, what I do as a designer, and what my stuff looks like. And now I'm going to talk about authenticity. I decided to use that as a topic because, as you know, we're living in post-factual times. And there are rumors that facts are not as important anymore. And I don't want to be too political here. Really, I talked to my girlfriend, who was born in Washington. I always say, if she would have been born in Hawaii, we would discuss surfing the whole time. But she was born in Washington. So it's always politics, you know. And we agree politically, but still, there's a lot of talk about politics. And I don't want to go there, but still, I thought to talk about authenticity is a good moment in history here. So what is authenticity? When I ask myself what authenticity is, what I do is usually I look it up in the dictionary, you know. So pronunciation, it means conforming to an original so as to reproduce essential features. So already you see, authentic does not exclude like a repeated production. It can actually mean that it's repeatedly produced. It's made or done the same way as an original. That's always good to hear for anybody who's interested in high quality serial production. And it's not false or an imitation. Excuse me. What's important, it's true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. Okay, then I extend it and I go for the adjective. Authentic means not false or copied, genuine, real, having an origin supported by unquestionable evidence. That's more about documents. Representing one's true nature or beliefs. That is more important for our project here. But you know, you can write that down. We can make that available, this presentation. But I want you too to research about authenticity. For me, it's really important. It's true to oneself. And if you're a designer designing for some brand, it's not really your own personality that is important, but it's that brand's personality. So there are some, there are some super designer like Starchitects. They are star designers, and those are not too sour grapes. If you're Philip Stark, you wait until somebody calls you. You don't have to contact somebody. That's one advantage. Then you tell them what it costs, and they're going to say, "Of course, sir," and write the check. That's not how I can work. But sometimes when these very famous designers do something that has this label, they get hired to get that label. And that's very good for the designer. And it's probably good for the company, but I'm not always sure that it's in the best interest of the consumer. It may be, it may not. So I think I try with my design to represent the brand and not me, because I think really nobody's interested in that, and nobody should be. Okay, and then entitled to acceptance or belief because of agreement with known facts. I just copied that from www.dictionary.com, but pertinent is really the true to oneself. It's always interesting to look at the etymology. Where does it come from? In this case from the Greek word authentikos, original, genuine, principle. So this question of originality is important in design all the time. Otherwise you have copies, you have plagiarism, and that's not what you're trying to do. The antonym is to be phony, fake, and ingenuine. Okay, that's what is to be avoided. And now, when you talk about being true, what does it mean being true? Being true to oneself. It raises another big important question. It raises the question of identity. And it's one of the things that we use that word identity all the time. And when you think about it, when you really think what does identity mean, you'll find out that cognitive psychologists, they even question the existence of an identity. How and why? They say our idea of a self may be just a projection based on wishes. We develop our identity the moment when, say, in family or in kindergarten, we realize that we are not the only person in the world. There's another entity. And then we question, how are we different and how are we similar to that identity? That's a very human, or probably very biological. Animals probably do that too, but I can't talk to them so well or about them. So the idea of a self develops the moment you come in contact with another self. And that is a continuous development which doesn't end even when you are my age. There is a particularly steep development that's when in your age, because you are choosing a profession, which means an occupation, something that keeps you busy now. Until now, people have sent you to school, and this time you decide, what do I want to become? I want to become a designer. So you are making a conscious decision what you will be busy now and in the future. And that is important for your identity development. But that's just a side note. So if it's based on wishes, what are our wishes? And that's not necessarily our wishes for ourselves, but for whatever identity we want to present as a designer. So if we're working on a brand, we have to understand the brand, or our project is not going to be about a brand so much, but you will see in a moment what it is about, and then you'll see why it's important that you understand what you are, what you have to represent. I found that quote by James Baldwin, American writer and activist, that you have to decide who you are and force the world to deal with that, and not wait until somebody imposes a perception on you. In the world of brands, it means that you want to have a good control over what your brand stands for. You have to have a real good idea what your brand is. And as a designer, you have to make sure that is very well communicated. It's not what people think you are, it's what you want people to believe you are. Okay, some words about truth. The opposite of truth is a lie. And sometimes we confuse truth and facts. They are not the same thing. truth is I would say, an emotionally based concept, and facts are a rationally based concept. And facts, although some people try and may look ridiculous doing so, facts cannot really be discussed. Facts are facts. The truth is a subjective concept, and you can discuss it. That's, by the way, a legal point of view, too. We as designers have to make sure, some stock photos, sorry for that, that we're not exposing somebody to this disappointing, probably disappointing experience. You want to eat an orange and there's an apple inside. So when we package something, we have to establish a link between what's inside and what the outside of a product is, the promise and the fulfillment. And you know, that can be natural and artificial. If somebody wants a rubber duck, he may not be so comfortable with a real duck in the bathtub. I have designed a rubber duck, by the way. I was young and I needed money. No, I wasn't even. I needed the money, yes, but I wasn't that young. It was a company, it was a promotional item for a company that said, oh, Wolfgang, we like your design. Can you do us a rubber duck? And as a designer, what is the answer to the question? Yes, of course, you know. It's fun. Do a rubber duck. There's functional requirements are very small for a rubber duck. Research is minimal. Okay, now coming to some examples of authenticity. When it was right at the end of my studies, I came to some money. Somebody who owed me money paid me back, and I bought a Bang & Olufsen record player. Records are little plastic discs that contain musical information. I wasn't sure. Google it, okay? And when I was in the shop, I was sure that there was a white version and a wood version, and I was sure I wanted the white one, and I said, well, the wood is going to be plastic anyway. He said, no, that's 0.3 millimeter real wood on top. Think about that. Does it make it real wood? Doesn't it suggest that the whole base is made of wood when there's a wood veneer on it? So should they really have bothered to put a real wood on it, or may a wood painting have done the same trick? I still wonder. I don't have the answers to all these questions. I want you to think about what's authentic. Now, that same company, that's a very recent product of them, have stuck to the wood. This is a real wood slab, and you know, it has sensors built in, so you can touch the wood and you feel real wood. And I think it's nice. It's probably thicker than 0.3 millimeters because it has a sophisticated groove in there. You can do magical things with wood. This is an example where they have very thin veneer glued to a flexible surface, and then you can inflate that, you know. But how genuine is that? How wooden is that idea? I found this example, and I think, I don't know what that is. Either it's really made of wood, then it's going to make cluck, cluck, cluck when you walk with it. I don't think so. It's probably, again, some thin wood veneer on top. And somebody gave me like a placemat, a flexible placemat with a thin wood on top, and I still don't know whether I like it or not, you know. Okay, about authenticity. This ripped man, yep, my girlfriend would probably be happy if I looked like that. That suggests force, that suggests an incredible strength. And when I came across that here, when I was researching, you know, authentic and not authentic, if you look at this photo here, that's Muhammad Ali. He was a world champion in boxing, one of the best boxers of all times. I look much closer to him than to the other guy. I mean, this guy, he's not fat, but he's not as ripped as the other guy. Now, I don't do boxing, as you can tell. No, it's still straight. And so I don't know whether that is typical. I think probably today boxers are more ripped. I know that in Formula One racing, it was Michael Schumacher who introduced a whole new athletic component to the sports. So how authentic is the previous image when it comes to representation of strength? Is it not only an exaggerated visualization? Just asking. I don't want this course to be too head-heavy, but I want you to ask yourself questions and answer them then for us and explain. when I was going to Trader Joe's, I found this image here, and I thought, okay, that's a fake authenticity. Why? Look at these cars here. That's a scene from, what do you say, 1940s, 50s? Well, truth is that Mr. Joe Trader had a business in 1958. That's when he started, but it wasn't called Trader Joe. That started in the 70s. So they want to give an image of, we've always been there, you can rely on us, with the good old times, the good old quality. But it's a fake, it's kind of a fake authenticity. I don't blast them. I like Trader Joe's, so, you know, particularly the maple cereal breakfast stuff. We don't have that in France. But I thought that smells a little bit of fake authenticity. There's, I don't know what it is, it's Louis something. I'm not really good with art history or in this case, furniture history. And there's another one that is, oops, I'm going too fast here. Another one that is quite similar, and that has been treated by a famous Italian designer, Alessandro Mendini. And here's one from the Dutch designer that is kind of, basically the wood is burned and then reinforced with polyester resin to not fall apart. So it's clear what is the original, and there are two things that you cannot really label copies. So they have perhaps created their own authenticity by adding some value to it. Much like an innovation, when you take an existing principle, but you apply it in a new area, in a new era, and then it has its raison d'être, as the French say, its reason to be, it's justifiable. There's another example, same Dutch designer. He's taken this, Gerrit Thomas Rietveld did this in the 30s, 20s or 30s. And he did the same treatment of this burned wood with his chair. So again, that is an authentic De Stijl object on the right. De Stijl was the period parallel to the Bauhaus in the Netherlands. And on the left, there's a very modern interpretation of that. Okay, when I look at a project as a designer, I usually start with size. It's either defined by the constraints the client gives me or by my own reflections, then the proportion. It's really a hierarchy, you know. The last thing I decide is texture or color. You can, sometimes it's first the color and then the texture, sometimes the other way around. But of course, once you've done the details, you can't change the size easily, you know. So size, proportion, form, material, all those are features of a product, but they don't, and they are sufficient to describe the product, but they don't describe your relationship as a human being with the product. For that, you need other things. There's always a certain connotation or an association. When people look at an object, they always think something, and you cannot always control what they think, because it depends on their individual experience. We all have a vocabulary of shapes in our memory, and when we look at something, we expect some things from it. If you would design a shoe that looks like a radio, people would say, oh, what do I do with the antenna? You know, they wouldn't know how to put it on. That's a very blunt example, but the truth is that we have expectations what objects should look like. And you as a designer, you are between these two rocks, between this expectation to do something that I am familiar with as a user, and something that is new and different, and it excites me. So you have to always find this balance and strike the right weight between those two important influential factors in the design. You have appeal and style, and if all the things on the left allow you to have an appeal, then this is good. It's not really separable, you know. It's not that this material automatically gives you that appeal under all circumstances. But these are the things that you should focus on, particularly in this project here. Normally in design, of course, you know, your client, for practical reasons, wants to know what it costs and how it's manufactured and so on and so on. In this project, this is not as important as to have the right appeal. So when you ask what is authentic, you should ask what is individual, what's original, what's innovative, what is traditional, and even if it's only to avoid it, because you want to do something new. What's honest? What's genuine? Now, some more authenticity example. I don't know, the Germans, they don't have tea time. We have coffee and Kuchen. Sunday afternoon at around 4 o'clock, we gather and we drink coffee, those people that do, and eat cake. And the coffee usually is consumed with some milk that comes in some, milk jar. And there's this one here in the shape of a cow, and it's used as an example in German design education to say how bad kitsch is. Because, typically the milk doesn't come out of the mouth of a cow, except if there's something really wrong, like having a hole in the back or something. And also the proportions, the legs are a bit too short, a little bit less than you can call her ground beef. This here is another example where, of course, usually an udder is not made of glass, but I find it more sympathetic. I like that more because it's more playful and more ironic with the imagery of cows producing milk. But again, I don't want to impose my opinion. I just want to, show you these two examples of questionable authenticity. Plastic cutlery that is covered with metal to look like metal. And one part of me says, that's not honest. That's not right. You shouldn't do that. If you should do it really in metal. Yeah, but then when do we use that? We use it at a garden party where we have invited too many people and we're not going to invite 60 people so soon again. Something went wrong with the flash mob, whatever. And here we have our cutlery, and it has to be cheap. But at the same time, maybe we want some, some bling, some formal appearance or so, and we get that. Is this wrong? Is this right? I know when I started to work, I researched about metal covering of plastic, and I had some samples made, and I found out that the metal actually makes, depending on what technology you use, not if you use cheap silver paint, but if you have a good metal vapor deposit process, it makes the surface harder, which is a functional advantage, and that's what justify employing it. When you look at, these are shower heads, very often these are made of plastic and then covered in metal just for cost reason or for handling. It's easier to handle a plastic shower head than one that is made solid metal, cast. Even if it's cast zinc, it's kind of heavy, So whenever there's a functional reason, I think I'm more lenient to allow a deviation from the originally strict, rigid honesty. Okay, I was in Palm Springs because I like the desert, and you tell me where is good surfing in Palm Springs? I really couldn't find a place. So I thought, that's weird. I mean, I have nothing against it. It's obvious I didn't buy it. It's small, it wouldn't have fit. I thought that's kind of weird. That's an excellent example of fake authenticity. I don't mind somebody wearing that, as I said. It's whatever floats your boat. If you go with that to Europe, people will say, oh yeah, Palm Springs, I've heard of it. They have really big waves, because they don't know where it is. Probably confused with Palm Beach. Okay, so these were some remarks and examples about authenticity, and now to the assignment. I've tried to find something that hopefully excites you, and it's a bit off the norm. I want you to design an authentic Californian lifeguard station. That's a painting I found somewhere. But what really triggered the thought was me doing a morning run in Crystal Cove and coming across this here. All these wonderful lifeguard stations lined up, and the closer I came, the uglier they looked. I bet they're made by the same manufacturer as trash cans, and he uses the same production methods. I'm not joking. I mean, who should do it? It should not be done. Well, maybe it should be done by Apple, but then you would have to reboot it all the time. So I want you to design something that looks nicer than that. Now I know, obviously, there's some history about that. So don't ever be arrogant. Products are never completely idiotic. There's some history, so it's not the first time that they look like this. So maybe people are used to that. There's some functionality that works. There's a roof. You can go up and down. It's probably good for any size between Pamela Anderson and Arnold Schwarzenegger or so, the different types of lifeguards you have to have there. It can be moved around. It has like these skis underneath these. And yeah, it's probably cheap to manufacture, relatively cheap. So I don't want you to design it all in platinum or, you know, Damascene steel. But I could imagine that, I'm sure actually, you will do something a lot nicer than that. Also the painting, you know, it's supposed to blend in. I'm not sure, is this a good idea if that blends in? If you're on the beach and you can't see it, do you feel less secure? You think nobody's watching? I don't know. Should it be bright orange? No. Or yes? Well, why does Pamela Anderson have a bright orange, bright yes, red? Yeah. I don't know what the thinking behind that is. Do you need to see the station? But I think these are pretty ugly, and I think you can do something better. Okay, the assignment is to do some research on authenticity in general, that you make yourself familiar with the term, on the history, not only in California, to extend to the United States, if you feel like it, to the Philippines or whatever, where you think you find it. I mean, today with Google, it's so easy. You honestly don't have to get your butt out of the chair for that. So I think that's great. I do not want to discourage you to go to the library, and I certainly don't want to discourage you to go to the beach and research where it happens. You know? There's the environment. The environment is a very complex thing. So I'm talking about the geographical environment because it's supposed to be for California. There's a cultural environment, you know, listen to the Beach Boys, and they give you already a good indication of what I'm talking about. There's an ecological aspect, you know, you don't want something that falls apart too soon. So if you master to integrate some consideration of longevity, you know, that the thing is solid. And there's a local environment, you know. Is there a cliff? Is it just sand? Is this a little beach community? Is it Los Angeles, Malibu, Santa Monica? Then some functionality. Don't get hung up on that. So if some tall person has to put the head down, that's not comfortable, but I'm not going to blast you on that. For me, it's more important that you create something that is exciting and authentic. You can look at patterns maybe, some studies. Are there studies out? I don't know whether designers have tackled that before, but there are so many design students now that maybe yes. Production, again, it's not the emphasis on the production, but think a little bit about materials and production methods. Plastic, wood, metal, Damascene steel. And when I talk about the market, I'm not talking so much about how many people produce it, but I would research who's producing that if I were you, and see, are there several companies? What else do they do? And in generally, I would consider that what we call street furniture, like waste paper basket on the street or a bench, park bench. It's the same type of product, I think. Okay, deliverables. We'll go into detail with Wesley later, but already I'd like you to write a briefing to yourself, what you want to fulfill with your solution. I want to see concepts, and I want you to present them with renderings. Here we had some discussion. I know sketching is fast and easy. I can tell you I never, ever have shown, show, or will show a rendering to a handmade sketch to a client. My experience is clients can't imagine anything. I mean, I've seen situations where the designer presented 3 bathroom scales, and one was yellow. The client said, I don't like yellow, and puts it aside. He didn't look at the concept. He didn't think, oh, it's yellow, I can also paint it blue. No, I don't like yellow. So he couldn't imagine anything. That's my experience. Why? It's not their job. It's our job to imagine. And that's why I usually present in gray with some color accents, so we can talk about the color in the second phase, you know, because I always work in several phases. That's just a little thing that probably every design office does. So, because they can't imagine, the best thing is to show photorealistic rendering, even better to build a full-scale working prototype, which we will not quite have the time until next week. So scratch the prototype, scratch the model making. But it would be nice if you master that, and within the group, and we'll see how those groups will be built up, if there's 1 or 2 people that can work on some photorealistic renderings. Would be nice. And then, of course, you have to do a presentation. Last word of encouragement, respect the genius of the place. Frederick Law Olmsted. Anybody knows who that is? Ah, okay. I had to look it up, of course, but I found the quote first, and I really liked it. He's a landscape architect. What did he do? You know what that is? Central Park, New York. Pretty good portfolio piece, I think. Okay. Well, that should be it. Make sure your stuff is authentic. I'm looking forward to the results. And we will now divide into groups. We will have 10 groups with 7 people. There should be, probably makes sense that each group elects a group leader, somebody who is good in presentation or in the management of the time. And not everybody has to do everything. I want each group to really work as a group. And I don't want you to kill yourself. I know this is 2 evenings, so you can't invest too much time. But I thought it would be good if you start today with the research and then just get something, I would say on paper, but it's on screen, that next week you can present. Each group will have about 7 minutes for the presentation. That'll take us a while to go through. And then once everybody presented, we'll have a little discussion. And then we'll do something that is not always advisable in design. We'll have a democratic election. And we know what can all go wrong with democratic elections. I'm not going to go there. But we're going to, why is it not a good idea in design? Because in design, people, when you talk who, it's never the people that decides. Ultimately, it's the consumer who puts out his money. So it is a sort of democracy. But to get there, it doesn't always make sense to go in a democratic way. We didn't know that we all want to have an iPad. And if you, Steve Jobs would have asked people, do you want an iPad? People would have said, a what? You know, you don't even know what it is. So how can you say yes or no? Some nerds, maybe me, would have said, yeah, sure, Steve, whatever, it's going to be okay. And some other people would have said, no, I don't need another electronic device in my household. Come on, don't bother me with this. I'm having trouble with my iPhone, you know. And that's why you can't do this democratically. But here we will, because we are already a very elitist select group of tasteful individuals, and also because it's fun to see who is going to appeal to the most of young, aspiring designers with, some of you might even have some beach ambitions, okay? So that's it. Thank you.